Welcome to episode 6 of the GA Performance Podcast. So we have something a little different for you this week with an analysis episode. It's going to be taking the shape of my GA Statistics column in the Irish Times, but in video podcast form. So we can really dig deep into the analysis using video, images, graphics, data, statistics. I'm really looking forward to this. So we're going to be looking at how to stop Con O'Callaghan and Dublin's backdoor passing threat. A special thanks here to Mick O'Grady for pointing the way in the Leinster semi-final with a marking masterclass against one of the greatest players of our generation. So let's get started, and I hope you enjoy and can learn something from this. Dublin came into that Kildare match with 8 goals in their previous 2 games. 4 against Derry in the league final when Con O'Callaghan was man of the match and directly involved in 2 of them. Created another goal chance that should have been taken late on in the game as well. Leinster quarter-final against Laois, they scored another 4 goals, one of them from Con O'Callaghan, who finished that game with 1-7. So what happened then last time out against Kildare when Dublin were held to 14 points? They only won by 2 points. They're massively favoured to win that game comfortably, and they were held to creating no goal scoring chances. Con O'Callaghan was limited to just 1 point from play. He only assisted 1 point. And Dublin were largely frustrated and actually very fortunate to win that game down the straight when Kildare missed a lot of big opportunities. At the moment, Dublin are playing him more in the inside line. In the past, they played him in the half-forward line, where his 2, I suppose, biggest strengths are his ability to square you up and take you on, and also his ability to get in behind you, where he's a very good ball-winning option, and he's also a great for the backdoor pass. So they're the 3 things that he does expertly well. He also is able to take his points off of either foot, and he even shown that in that Kildare game when there was a really good and tight squeeze being put on him. He scored an excellent point from play off of his left foot, which he made for himself. So when we're looking at the job that Mick O'Grady did, it was how he stopped Con from doing those 3 things. So we can see in this graphic that Con really favours that left corner, that left side of Dublin's attack, coming from deep. When he gets the ball and he can try and square a guy up and take him on, or he'll loop around and just give the right simple pass, or try and give a 1-2, or he'll try and cut in behind at the space which he's just made himself from coming from deep to wide. The game against Laois, his man was taken off at half time in that game. You know, he had things largely his own way. So of his 1-7, 1-4 was from play. He had 2 marks in there and a free. We said he assisted 1-2. 20 of his possessions were on the left side of the Dublin attack. The other 2 were where he collected a ball out deep after tackling his way back, and we said he got that positive turnover in the top left corner, and yeah, he was tackling his way back. He was kind of involved in the turnover, and then he gave a good kick pass down the line, and then he took a line ball over in the right corner. And they were, other than that, his 20 of his 22 involvements in the game were over on the left hand side of the field. He was involved in 3 of Dublin's 7 backdoor passes in attack, resulting in 2-1. So that's a massive thing that we're going to look at here shortly in terms of the backdoor passes. And he received 10 kick passes into him during that game. So that was kind of a big range in terms of you seen him collecting hand passes and obviously looking for that backdoor hand pass cut. But he also was an option for kick passes inside, and he received 10 in that game. And that's where he obviously got his marks for 2 scores. And he's a real threat in behind if you let the ball in quickly. The goal here that Con scores against Laois is a perfect example of exactly what he likes to do when we're talking in terms of depth and backdoor passes. So he loves to play behind the man, and when he gets in nice and deep, you'll find in a lot of those situations he plays in so deep that he creates a one-on-one. And what a lot of forwards like to do there is obviously try and get out in front, or they might drop in behind and then cut in front from there. But defenders, you'll often see, especially when they're that far deep, they'll be panicked and they will try to cut out the angle to the ball. And they'll play from in front essentially and take chances, and generally that will work against a lot of teams. But not only is Con O'Callaghan amazing at his ability to show behind, his patience, his running angles, the way he shows and presents for the ball inside there, and also his ability to take the ball in all the different ways that it may come to him behind the man. Dublin are also fantastic at seeing that option, having the shape to create those one-on-ones and executing and going for it and playing it in behind. Defenders who defend like this, which is fine against a lot of other players, we said, it's not going to work against Con O'Callaghan. We can see here clearly just the option that he presents in terms of a long ball. The next one here is what happens when Con gets you squared up and he faces you. So he's obviously an excellent ball winner. He'll win his ball, he'll turn and he will try and face you and square you up, and then he will try and take you on. But a lot of guys who are put on Conor Callan are the best defenders and best tacklers on their team. But what you'll find with a lot of modern day defenders and tacklers who are very good is that a lot of them actually back themselves, and they will commit and they will try and make that tackle because they generally have the pace or the tackling ability to, if they bite, they can still get back and bite again. Where against Conor Callan, he is so direct, he is so explosive off the mark, and he is so good at just getting by and going, that if you come in and you bite, that's all he's waiting for. He is gone. He's waiting for that bite, and in he goes by you. So when you bite and you bite again, as I said, he's going to get by you, and that's what you see here. The defender, instead of defending the zone to the goal, he is trying to dispossess Conor Callan in an area where Conor Callan is not a massive threat, and he allows Conor Callan to get into an area where Conor Callan becomes a massive threat. And that kind of defending is, again, you'll get away with it against certain players because that pressure will panic them and it will force them out, or it will dispossess them. But Con is squaring you up looking for that. He's looking to create this scenario as often as possible. You can see here that Con's movement is so good, and that he can go from running very slow. He's constantly thinking of where his man is. He's constantly thinking of the general space on the field, his general position, and he will try and lull you out and then cut back in. But he's also aware that after a couple of them, he never overuses this. Like, you'll see in some games where, if you think of when Lee Keegan marked him and the job that Lee Keegan was doing, but like bang, bang, he will get his opportunity and he will cut inside. But he's also aware that when the defender's becoming aware of that, and this is a great example of just how adaptable he is and why players like him, as much as you can look at it and analyze it and try and limit what he can do, it's very hard to stop him, because as you can see here, he makes his fake backdoor cut and he comes back out, creates a space for himself. And I've seen him in games making a fake backdoor pass, cut, coming back out, and then going in again. When he really wants to get in, it's very, very hard to stop him. Defenders, a lot of times, have said that these are the best guys on the team, the best tacklers on the team, the fastest guys on the team. They don't find it as easy to defend in a more conservative manner. But like, if you watch soccer or other sports, Virgil van Dijk, how fast and powerful he is, how often does he actually make a tackle? He defends the lines towards that. And then here against Kildare, Mick O'Grady against Conor Callan in the league game, you can see how Mick O'Grady is aware of Con trying to get behind him, and he really doesn't want it to happen. In comparison to what we're going to see in the clips for how he did in the Leinster semi-final, I suppose he wasn't as good at it or as sharp at it, but he still does still does so well here. You can see that when Con does get behind him, he actually turns and faces him. He tries to get back around, he tries to get close, get contact on him to try and get back with Con, back goal side essentially, and he will face him if he needs to. But then, as we said, if Dublin kick the ball in, this isn't a kick, but if Dublin kick the ball in, that really presents a challenge if they can get it in early, because again, there's one thing with the defender being blind of what his man is doing behind him, but if the defender is blind to where the ball is coming in from, again, let that ball in, and Con has all the advantages once he does drop deep like that. But this is very good defending by Mick O'Grady, but still not good enough to stop Con. So now let's get to that Kildare Leinster semi-final game and Conor Callan against Mick O'Grady, and have a look now at the map of Conor Callan's involvements in that game. The comparison isn't complete like for like, and obviously in that Kildare game was a lot tighter game than the Laois game, but still he had 21 involvements against Kildare, 22 involvements against Laois. So it wasn't necessarily that he was limited in terms of how much he was getting on the ball. It was more so he was limited in terms of his impacts and the things that he was able to do. And as we know with Con, he is more of an impact guy, and I suppose that was one of the arguments which I would have made before about Lee Keegan marking him at all back in those games, because there's a big difference with a cornerback marking an inside forward and trying to stop him from scoring in there, and man marking the likes of Diarmuid Connolly or Kieran Kilkenny as they run out the field, or Enda Smith, and tracking them and staying with them and limiting their actual touches and their involvements in that way. Where inside you're trying to limit impacts, assists, secondary assists, goals, points. That's what you're trying to limit. And so the job that Mick O'Grady was asked to do there wasn't to limit Conor Callan from getting on the ball, it was to limit Conor Callan from doing damage to Kildare, as he had been doing in the two previous games when he'd absolutely destroyed Laois and absolutely destroyed Derry. In this game, he scores 2 points. He scores one free. He missed a free from a bit more distance. He tried to curl it back in and it didn't come back for him. And he scored a closer in free. He scored a lovely point from play where he as I said, he really went for it, and he came in on his left and he kicked it over, and he created a point. That he only had 6 possessions in the second half of his 21. He was dispossessed once in the corner. He collected a kind of a hand pass from Cormac Costello, which there wasn't much he could really do with it. He was surrounded and he was dispossessed. It's very rare that he is dispossessed. His decision making and his ability to know when to just come out and recycle the ball is top quality, and how fast he is to get away from contact and then do the right thing. And then in terms of backdoor passes, Dublin only had 4 backdoor passes in that game as opposed to their 7 against Laois, and 2 of them he was involved in. He received in that game just 5 kick passes, so half of what he received against Laois. So you said it wasn't necessarily he was on less ball, but how was the ball coming into him, and did Dublin test that defence by kicking in more ball into him? Again, Kildare really surrounded those areas a lot more than Laois did, but were there opportunities to kick ball into him more and to look for those marks to the chest, or kicks into the corner just quicker, give him more of an opportunity to try and win that ball and quickly square up his man and force that lack of discipline from Mick O'Grady, who was so disciplined through the game. In the Laois game, it was all on the left hand side. There was more on the right hand side. There was a bit more of an even split here, which you can see. He went to that side. He was trying to move Mick O'Grady. He was trying to force him, but he was doing the same thing on the right side of Dublin's attack, which would have been his left side, because he plays so deep and he faces the play. So it's him going to his left, as he did to the right. He obviously wants to come out to that left-hand side more so he can get in on his right foot, but he went to the other side as well to try and move him, to try and test him. But I said on the same side, he does the same thing. So we'll look here at those 2 backdoor passes that were attempted against Kildare that Con was involved in. And the first one, you can see, is expertly defended by Mick O'Grady because he knows that it's coming. Con is kind of left at a very tight angle. He's not cutting out. He's cutting out the danger where that backdoor pass is likely to go. Like the pass wasn't executed brilliantly, and if it went over to Con, he would have been very, very tight on the space that he would have had if that pass was there. And there's a good chance that O'Grady would have been able to get a hand to knock the ball away as in flight as it was making it across there. But he read it. He read the situation. He read the threat. He was in the right place, and it was really well defended. The second one is the one instance in the game where Mick O'Grady was caught. He was brought over to that other corner. Con brought him over. Con's run is probably one of his most casual out to the wing, and then the cut comes and he goes hard and he's away. He's away for a goal. If that's 1-on-1, he's away for a goal. But Kildare as a collective had the same approach of defence as Mick O'Grady had, as in they were not defending. They were defending what was the biggest danger, and the biggest danger was the goal. The goal was always the biggest danger. Dublin are always looking for the goal, and Kildare defended the goal. And that kind of brings you into, if you look at the shooting map overall of Dublin, that Dublin didn't get any scores in those goal scoring areas in terms of the parallelogram, in terms of the heart of the D. Dublin didn't get any scores at all in there, and that's where Kildare really defended that zone. And the cut across here is a goal saving intervention, and Kildare really defended that. And we always talk about defending the scoring zone, but defending the scoring zone with numbers and defending the scoring zone are 2 different things. So if you defend the scoring zone with numbers and then you come out and you bite players as they come into that, or you follow where if you defend that scoring zone, as in you're going to defend that area because it's the most dangerous area, a man comes to try and square you up and tackle you, you don't come in, you don't bite, you keep defending that zone, and then when you draw him into you and then you tackle him, rather than you coming out to him and him stepping out by you. And it was such a difference in what Kildare did to what Laois did, with both getting 14 men behind the ball. In the Derry game, their shooting accuracy was only 38%, but they still had 12 shots in that danger area between the parallelogram and then coming into the heart of the D. They managed 12 shots in that. So again, Derry had the numbers back, but what were they doing in there? So we'll have a look now at a couple of instances where Mick O'Grady's defending, which was just top class. You can see if Mick O'Grady, as the ball comes in, nice and tight, very tight, doesn't overcommit, but he wants to win that ball. And then as Con gets it, the distance is very tight. But when Con turns and faces him and squares him, there is no bite. He's defending where Con wants to go to. He's defending that line. And then Con is forced back out, and again he stays disciplined. He doesn't come in and bite. He doesn't come in and bite on the inside and leave that wing to cut back inside towards where the goal is. He's disciplined. He forces Con O'Callaghan out, and Con comes out and is able to recycle, not under a massive amount of pressure. But it's not completely easy either, which is because Mick O'Grady is such an excellent defender and he has that pace. The distance isn't too far away, so Con still feels the pressure. He's not able to play on his own ease, but the decision is kind of being made for him. Another example here, we're looking in and we're seeing the option. Con is trying to get in behind. He's trying to drift in behind. We've seen as he did for the goal. I suppose it's not the distance for the pass isn't as immediate, but in the goal in the league game. But Con is trying to get behind. He's trying to drift behind on the blind side, but O'Grady isn't allowing it. He's staying goal side. He's constantly staying goal side, but tight. Goal side, but tight. And he obviously has to be very physical and have a lot of contact on to do that. Some referees might see that a bit differently, but he's very tight and he's trying to get goal side and constantly be able to see man and ball. See here, we've an example of Con trying to do his run out to the wing and cut back in. Again, he has it read. He's aware of it. He's cutting off that space inside. And in doing so, it allows Con is now an option to take the ball back on the outside because he's given in that, he's surrendered that distance. It's conservative in a manner in terms of it's conservative to winning the ball, but it's very, very smart in terms of what is the biggest danger here. Biggest danger is Con O'Callaghan getting in behind you into a scoring zone. The lesser danger is Con O'Callaghan getting the ball with more space just on the edge or outside the scoring zone. And that's what they're constantly trying to get their angles, and they're cutting, passing and cutting to try and get in there. I suppose in the earlier years of Jim Gavin, there was more and more of trying to get into the D to take those points cutting across. And I don't know if that's just the coaching or the emphasis on trying to get in behind, or is it the personnel? They've got a lot more players now like Pascal or Con who like to get in behind, as opposed to when you had more Paul Flynn's and Jim O'Connelly's. They wanted to cut across and point, or Dean Rock, as you seen when he came on against Laois, he scored 3 lovely points and he did that cut across, left of the D, and he took his point. But that's what he wants. He wants to get out wide the same way they're all doing, but he wants to cut across and take the ball in the loop and point, where a lot of other Dublin players want to take the ball, square you up, take you on, or get in behind you. In that game against Laois, Dublin scored 430, which is obviously remarkable scoring. You can see the map here that there still is, the 70% shooting accuracy. In the second half, 68, first half 73. Like, that is very good shooting accuracy, but there were still some wayward shooting options. If you were to look at that statistically, 4 shots dropped short, which is quite a lot in a game like that. You're dominating, and 4 of those shots dropped short, and they were blocked twice. Their accuracy outside of the high percentage shooting zone, they got 4 out of 12. So 12 is quite a lot of shots they took on outside of that zone, and they only scored 4 of them. And they had 5 goal scoring chances, which is a lot, and they scored 4 of them. They're unlucky with a very good save for the 5th. So now we'll look at the Kildare shooting map, and we'll look at their accuracy in that game, and dramatically lower, 45% shooting accuracy overall in that game. Not any shots in the real heart of the high percentage scoring zone, but even the edges outside of it, there's a lot of misses in there as well. In the second half, they had 47% scoring accuracy. In the first half, 43%. So there's a slight increase in the second half, but still less than half of their shots are going over. 11 wides, 4 shots dropped short again, same as the Laois game, and 2 shots were blocked. No goal scoring chances, and in that game, they had 17 shots outside the scoring zone. So that's even more than in the Laois game. Only 5 were scored. So what are the learnings here? Well, the positional sense and the defensive nous of Mick O'Grady managed to limit Con O'Callaghan to no goal chances, just 1 point from play, just 1 point assist. But he also only attempted to get on the end of 2 backdoor passes, of which he had 1 cut out and the other one, the +1 defender, closed off immediately. He, not once in the game, tried to square up and felt that he could take on Mick O'Grady. And in fact, in the game, he never once attempted to take on of any player. So for Con O'Callaghan, who builds his game around those 2 things, backdoor cuts and taking on his man, he never done it once because of the positional sense of Mick O'Grady. Then the positional sense of Kildare as a whole, what can we learn from that? Well, they managed to close off the defensive areas, the danger areas, and they limited Dublin to no goal chances at all, no shots in their parallelogram or their D, which is remarkable. And they also, in terms of backdoor cuts, they reduced Dublin's attempts to those because of the way they were closing them off and the positions they picked up. Dublin only attempted 4, and from that they only had 1 point and they won 1 free. And in terms of Dublin, what do we pick up from them? Well, we realised that when you do close off that goal scoring threat, 8 goals in their 2 previous games before that, and when you do close off those points even within that zone, you really will limit their chances, and their shooting accuracy at the moment just isn't it. The job that Mick O'Grady and the job that Kildare defence did against that Dublin team with the array of players they had, they just scored 430 in the last game, 4 goals in the league final against that Derry defence, and the job that they did is remarkable, and it's set a template now. So the question is, are Louth and these teams who are going to face Dublin in the coming games in the All-Ireland series, are they going to be the ones who are going to learn from it? Or will it be Dublin themselves? I really enjoyed putting this together. And yeah, if anyone has any feedback on the topic itself or on these analysis episodes at all, do drop me a message on any of the social media platforms, and I look forward to the chat. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this and that you learned something from it.